National Assembly transmits 13.5 trillion naira budget to Buhari. NAFDAC shuts down 6 pharmaceutical companies. And Edo government urges residents to protect the elderly against COVID-19. On business, federal government borrows over 2 trillion naira from bond investors in 2020. And in sports, Aston Villa draw Chelsea. Details of these and more after this break. I am Omoye Obede. The National Assembly has transmitted the 2021 appropriation bill of 13.5 trillion naira to President Muhammadu Buhari. The senior special assistant to the President of National Assembly matters, Senator Babajide Omowurare, disclosed this on Monday. Omowurare said the appropriation bill has been transmitted by the National Assembly to the President in conformity with the provisions of Section 59 of the Constitution. He said the bill is presently being looked at by the President and consequent action will be taken in due course. The National Assembly had last Monday approved the budget during an emergency session. The approved budget figure by the National Assembly comprises total capital supplementation of 1.06 trillion naira, total capital expenditure of 4.1 trillion naira, statutory transfers of 496 billion naira, and recurrent expenditure of 5.6 trillion naira. And the chairman of the Senate Committee on Aviation, Senator Smart Adeyemi, on Monday said the National Assembly and the Ministry of Aviation were considering banning flights from the United Kingdom and United States and other countries with high rates of COVID-19. Adeyemi, who stated this in an interview with reporters in Abuja, said a decision on the issue would be announced next week. He noted that the National Assembly and the federal government were concerned about the second wave of COVID-19. He stated that the Joint National Assembly Committees on Aviation, the Aviation Ministry, and agencies in the sector had been holding regular meetings in the past few days on the matter. He said the meetings were seriously discussing possible impacts of the proposed ban and other associated issues. Recall that the president of the Nigerian Medical Association, Professor Innocent Uja, had said on Sunday that travelers from the UK and the US were worsening COVID-19 cases in Nigeria. The NMA president stated that government knows that the travelers from the UK and US are the ones responsible for the increase in cases, and the results have shown that the government knows what they should do. And the Vice President of Nigeria, Yemi Osinbajo, has called for an increase in the number of beneficiaries of the Survival Fund under the federal government's Economic Sustainability Plan. The 2.3 trillion naira stimulus package put in place to help small businesses weather the impact of COVID-19. The senior special assistant to the Vice President of Media and Publicity, Laolu Akonde, in a statement on Monday, quoted Osinbajo as speaking at a meeting recently. Osinbajo was quoted as saying that with the kind of impact and interest already generated among Nigerians by the ongoing implementation of the plan, there was a need to expand the scope and reach of the benefits to a larger number of people. Commending the committee members for their efforts in impacting the lives of beneficiaries of the payroll support, the artisan and transport grants, as well as beneficiaries in other track of the scheme, Osinbajo said the partnership with the private sector in the implementation of the scheme was notable. So far, the scheme is said to have commenced disbursements to about 500,000 beneficiaries. According to the statement, the payroll support scheme has paid close to 350,000 beneficiaries. Almost 166,000 of 300 artisans have benefited from the artisan and transport scheme, and the Corporate Affairs Commission is ramping up numbers to register 250 new businesses free of charge. And the Edo State government has urged residents in the state to take responsibility for protecting elderly persons who are most vulnerable to coronavirus in the wake of the second wave of the pandemic. A statement issued by Secretary to the State Government Osarodian Ogie on Monday in Benin City said the government is putting adequate measures to check the spread of COVID-19 in the state, especially with the resurgence of the deadly disease. Ogie, however, urged residents to comply with all safety and precautionary guidelines against the spread of the virus in order to protect the aged population who are more vulnerable to COVID-19. And the Lagos State government says it will inaugurate 10 oxygen and sampling centers to improve the management of severe to critical COVID-19 cases. The State Commissioner for Health, Professor Aki Ambayomi, disclosed this during a press briefing on the update of the second wave of COVID-19 in Lagos on Monday. Ambayomi said that the state would deploy oxygen therapy centers in high-burden local government areas to manage severe to critical COVID-19 patients. He noted that medical oxygen is the primary treatment for the majority of patients who were suffering severe COVID-19 symptoms. And coming up in a moment, NAFDAC shuts down 6 pharmaceutical companies. Details of this when we come back.
At split seconds, there is a lot happening around us, but we can't be everywhere all the time. We've got work, families, and chores to cater to, and most importantly, time to rest. And that's why having reliable partner like KUFM News is important. Sleeping? We don't. We work round the clock, bringing you stories as they break from Nigeria and across the world. We would stop at nothing to keep you informed, because KUFM News is all about you and stories that affect you. Politics, business, human interests, sports, entertainment, just name it. We've got you covered. KUFM News. Timely, precise, spot on.
Hey, welcome back to the news. Still in the news, the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control has shut down 6 local manufacturers of finished pharmaceutical products. The agency's Director General, Professor Mojisola Adeyeye, stated this on Monday. She said the action was in furtherance of its zero tolerance for the circulation of substandard and falsified medicines in Nigeria. Adeyeye, who disclosed this in a statement in Abuja, said the pharmaceutical companies were shut down following a nationwide surveillance on their manufacturing activities. She said the local manufacturers, despite appropriate notification, failed to meet minimum good manufacturing practice standards in line with extant requirements, which are required to assure the quality, safety, and efficacy of pharmaceutical products. And workers of Ondo State-owned tertiary institutions on Monday suspended their 14-day warning strike. The workers, under the auspices of the Joint Action Committee of the Ondo State tertiary institutions, had embarked on a strike following non-payment of their salaries and allowances by the state government. The members of the JAC include the Joint Action Committee of Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities, the Non-Academic Staff Union, the Nigerian Association of Academic Technologists, and the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Polytechnics. The workers announced their decision in a statement issued by the chairman of JAC, Peter Akindende, on Monday evening. According to the statement, the suspension of the strike will take effect from Tuesday, December 29, 2020, as government has responded to some of their demands. And police authorities in Ogun State have apprehended a 35-year-old suspected human trafficking kingpin, Comfort Innocent, over the abduction and trafficking of 2 underage girls. The police public relations officer, Abimbola Oyeyemi, said the arrest of the suspect followed the report by one Oluwaseun Aduratola, and one Sakirat Fasasi, both residents of Sion Town in Obafemi Owode local government area of the state, who reported that the suspect abducted their daughters, namely Blessing Aduratola, 15, and Hasisat Fasasi, 16. They further explained that the suspect, who is a notorious human trafficker, is about taking the two girls to Libya, where they will be forced into prostitution. The police spokesperson added that following this, the divisional police officer Owode Egba Division, Matthew Ede, swung into action with his detectives, and through intelligence-driven investigation, they succeeded in arresting the suspect. He said that on interrogation, the suspect confessed to being a human trafficker and that she has been into the business for a long time. The two victims, according to him, have been rescued from Kaduna State by the police. And the remains of the founder and chairman of Leadership Group, publishers of Leadership newspaper Sam Inda Azaya, has been buried in Abuja amid tears and tributes. Inda Azaya, who was also the publisher of National Economy and the first Hausa daily Leadership Ayau newspaper, was laid to rest yesterday. The solemn event, which took place at the Gudu Cemetery in the nation's capital, was attended by family members, friends, business associates, and workers of the late entrepreneur, in line with federal government's restriction on public gatherings. The Archbishop of Abuja-based Supernatural Love Ministry, Dr. Calvin Antoza, who led the funeral service, said death is a reality that would happen to everybody. Others who attended the funeral include a former agricultural minister and the chairman of Arewa Consultative Forum, Chief Audugbe, representative of the Chief of Army Staff, Chief of Military Civil Affairs, Major General H.I. Bature, among others. And Azaya died on December 11, 2020, after a brief illness. And coming up in a moment on business news, the Debt Management Office raised 2.1 trillion naira for investors in its monthly bond issuance program in 2020 for the federal government of Nigeria. Details of these and more after the break.
1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, 600 billion, and the last kobo. Oh yes, we follow the money. It's all about the business and the business of business. The gains and the losses. The bulls and bears. The rise and falls. The risk and the satisfaction of seeing the last kobo rise to millions. On KUFM's Business News, the simple and complex jargons of business just make sense. Get the trending news on the morning market, forecast, investment opportunities, policy changes, and other breakout information on the ever-busy world of business. KU Business News, Monday to Friday on our news dawn, 6:30 to 7 a.m.
Instance News done on KU 92.7 FM Benin City. In some entertainment news, the federal government, through the Debt Management Office, raised 2.1 trillion naira from investors in its monthly bond issuance program in 2020. This represents 33% year-on-year increase when compared with 1.58 trillion naira raised by the DMO in 2019. The 2.1 trillion naira raised in 2020 also represents 31% more than the 1.6 trillion naira funding target for the DMO under the revised 2020 budget. Meanwhile, the monthly bond auctions conducted by the DMO in 2020 recorded 275% oversubscription, reflecting scramble for the high-yielding federal government of Nigeria bonds by investors. Public Finance reports on Monday bond auction results showed that the DMO offered 1.825 trillion naira worth of bonds during the year, representing 18% year-on-year increase when compared to 1.55 trillion naira offered in 2019. And the federal government has declared January 2021 as a month to campaign for the importance of the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement in Nigeria. The Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Otumba Adeni Yadebayo, made the declaration ahead of January 1st, 2021 takeoff. He called on Nigerians, particularly industrialists, to take advantage of the inherent opportunities to promote made in Nigeria goods. In a statement by his Special Assistant on Media, Ifedayo Sayo, the minister said Nigeria cannot afford to be left out of the emerging African economic bloc, stressing that the agreement will form $3.4 trillion economic bloc, which Nigeria must play a leading role. The African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, the world's largest free trade area in terms of 54 participating countries, will commence on January 1st, 2020. The commencement date will signal the beginning of implementation of a single continental market for goods and services with free movement of business persons and investments across Africa. And that's it from business and sports. Aston Villa draw Chelsea as more pressure on Lampard compounded. This and more on our sports decks. Welcome to Sport News on News Done, where Chelsea failed to ease the mounting pressure on manager Frank Lampard as Aston Villa came from behind to earn a 1-0 draw at Stamford Bridge on Monday as a coronavirus outbreak at Manchester City caused their clash at Everton to be postponed. Lampard publicly criticised his players' attitude in a 3-1 defeat to Arsenal on Saturday and left the Blues down in 8th at the start of the day, despite the £220 million displayed in the summer transfer market. In another encounter, the much-changed Leicester moved up to second in the Premier League thanks to Harvey Barnes' late equaliser in a 1-1 draw at Crystal Palace on Monday. Wilfred Zaha's stunning near-post volley put the Eagles in front against the run of play after Kelechi Iheanacho had a first-half penalty saved for Leicester. Iheanacho was given a rare start with 33-year-old Vardy rested, but the Nigerian did little to further his case for more game time. And six-time champion Roger Federer has withdrawn from the Australian Open as he continues to work his way back to fitness from 2 knee operations earlier this year. The 29-year-old Swiss last played a competitive match at the season's opening Grand Slam in January, but he had to undergo surgery on his knee. He later required a second operation. The start of the 2021 Australian Open has been delayed for 3 weeks until 8th of February due to the country's strict border rules to curb the spread of the coronavirus. Federer, who had been training at his off-season base in Dubai, had told organizers that the delayed start to the tournament could benefit him. However, his agent Tommy Gottsick said Federer was not quite ready to return, confirming that he will miss the Australian Open for the first time in his career. And that's it from sports, and that's the news. But before we go, a quick recap of the headlines. National Assembly transmits 13.5 trillion naira budget to Buhari. NAFDAC shuts down 6 pharmaceutical companies. And Edo government urges residents to protect the elderly against COVID-19. Do remember that the continued unity of Nigeria is a collective responsibility. Be sure to play your part. Do not forget you can listen to us anywhere in the world by visiting our website at www.kufm.net or download our mobile app from the Google Play Store. We are also live on YouTube at KUFM Nigeria, and you can also listen to us on radiogarden.com. KUFM's News Down was produced by Nusakai Uwadia. I am Omoyo Ogbede saying thanks for listening. Good morning.